Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. My name is Tyler. I've never cared much about putting my life on display. So when I met Shannon, it felt like stepping into another world. It started pretty casually. I had met her at a mutual friend's event, not knowing much about who she really was online. From there, we got talking. At the time, I had no idea she had a massive following. I didn't know she was what people now call a mini celebrity on TikTok. She had thousands of followers, went live often, and had fans who looked up to her like she was a star. But honestly, that didn't mean anything to me. I wasn't interested in her for what she posted or how many likes she got. I was just intrigued by the woman behind the screen. Early on, Shannon made it clear she enjoyed the spotlight. She'd go live all the time, walking through her day, doing makeup, sharing opinions with people, commenting in real time. I remember watching one of those lives and feeling like I was in a fishbowl. That lifestyle was everything I avoided. But she told me something back then that made me pause. She said, what people see online and who I really am aren't the same thing. She was convincing that I believed her. We began dating a few months after we met. And in the beginning, Shannon was all in. She was affectionate. I remember her saying, "You're different, Tyler. Most of the guys who talk to me want attention or want to ride off my following. But you didn't even know how many people follow me." And at the time, it did feel good to hear. But even early on, I noticed something in her that stuck with me. She had this way of reading people financially and socially. She would size up a room in minutes. She could tell who had money, who had influence, who had clout. I called her out on it once, saying, "Why you always talk about people's status?" She brushed it off and said, "That's just how the internet makes you think. But I'd never do that with you." And I somehow believed her too. At that moment, I thought I'd found someone special and exciting. But the truth has a way of showing itself slowly. After about a year of being together, something in her started to shift. The affection wasn't the same. She became more distant, less present, even when we were in the same room. At first, I thought maybe she was just overwhelmed. Shannon was constantly juggling brand deals, content creation, DMs, and appearances. It made sense that she might be tired. But then I noticed she was still making time for everything else except me. One of the things that had always made me a bit uncomfortable was her constant live streaming when she came around. It was her thing, and I respected that, but I had boundaries. I never wanted to appear on camera. I value my privacy, and I didn't want to be part of the performance. I told her that from day one, and she said she understood. But over time, she started to resent it. She'd call me boring. "Everyone else's boyfriend joins in. Why can't you just lighten up?" She'd say. I didn't want to fight, so I let the comments slide. Eventually, it felt like our relationship became a background prop in the life she wanted people to see online. When we did spend time together, she acted like she was doing me a favor, like her presence was something I should be grateful for. When I tried to bring it up, tell her I felt us drifting apart, it would turn into an argument. She'd get defensive, say I was too sensitive, accuse me of trying to bring her down. So I'd retreat. But that space kept growing. It got worse. She started making little comparisons that stuck in the back of my mind. Comments like, if I really wanted to, I could pull a guy like that without even trying. At first, I thought they were harmless jokes. I told myself not to be insecure. But deep down, they didn't feel like jokes. They felt like warnings I chose to ignore. Despite all of this, I still believed in what we had. Or what we could have if we just worked a little harder at it. I wanted to build a future together. So I proposed. I got her a beautiful ring. I picked it myself. I thought the moment would matter more than the price tag. And for a second, it seemed like it did. She said yes. But not long after, I noticed she stopped wearing the ring. When I asked her why, she admitted it wasn't the kind of ring she envisioned. She wanted something bigger, more on brand for someone with her status. Still, she didn't say she didn't want to marry me, just that the ring wasn't her style. I could have been angry. I could have taken offense. But I let it go. I told myself the commitment mattered more than the jewelry. I pushed my hurt aside and focused on the wedding plans, thinking maybe everything would fall into place once we got through this stressful season. But in hindsight, that was just me clinging to a version of her. Planning the wedding with Shannon started off the moment I told her it would be a destination wedding. Her eyes lit up. You'd think I had just handed her a golden ticket to the life she always wanted. She was over the moon, fantasizing about it for days on end. Every conversation we had seemed to circle back to the palm trees, the outfits, the drone shots, the Instagram-worthy sunsets. And at first, I chalked it up to excitement. I figured maybe this was just how some people express joy. But looking back, it wasn't really about us. It was about what people would see. As the wedding date crept closer, her excitement didn't deepen. It just widened. She wasn't talking about what kind of vows we'd write or how we'd grow together after the big day. Instead, it became all about who would be watching, how many likes a photo of her walking down the aisle would get, or what kind of comments she could expect from her followers. She'd go on and on about what her friends said when she showed them the venue or talked about the dress. And I noticed something. When it was just the two of us, she wasn't really with me. She was still performing, still measuring the moment by how it might look online. She got a customized wedding gown, completely tailored to her figure. It wasn't just a dress, it was practically a statement piece. I couldn't help but notice how much energy she poured into how she'd appear, compared to how little time we spent talking about what kind of marriage we wanted to build. Whenever I'd bring up something personal, she'd quickly pivot back to image talk. She'd say, laughing, "Or everyone's dying to know what shade of purple we're using for the bridesmaids." And I'd sit there, nodding along, wondering if anyone cared about the stuff that actually mattered. I realized then that I wasn't just marrying her. I was marrying her public image too. And that was never part of what I wanted. I wasn't trying to be a side character in a story she was curating for strangers on the internet. I just wanted something real. A moment between two people who love each other. But it was becoming painfully clear that her idea of a dream wedding had little to do with us and everything to do with optics. I knew Shannon was going to have a bachelorette party. That wasn't the issue. We had talked about it. And I knew her friends were flying in, renting a suite, doing the whole girls' night thing. She was excited. I told her to have fun. What I didn't expect was that the whole thing would be broadcast live to the internet. I was at home that night relaxing. I had just finished responding to a few emails when a notification popped up on my phone. Shannon is live. Out of curiosity, I clicked. I didn't think much of it. I figured it would be her showing off the venue or just checking in with her followers for a quick hello. The camera was on. The music was loud. Shannon and all her friends were in matching purple robes, clearly having a good time. They were drinking champagne, dancing, taking selfies, and reading out messages from her followers. It looked like one of those over-the-top girls' nights you see on Instagram. A lot of lights, noise, and performance. I sat there watching for a while, just observing. At first, it was harmless. Just friends being loud and hyped up. Then Shannon, the woman I was supposed to marry in a few days, took the mic. She was visibly drunk, slurring a little, carefree, laughing too loud. She started reading out comments from a chat, joking with people. But then she said something that hit me like a truck. She laughed and looked straight into the camera and asked, "Should I even marry him? I mean, he's nice and all, but ugh." The room exploded with laughter. One of her friends shouted from the background, "Girl, you don't gotta go through with it." And instead of defending me, Shannon laughed harder. And that was the moment everything shifted for me. Because it wasn't just what she said. It was how comfortable she was saying it. On camera. In front of everyone. And as crazy as it sounds, all those little things I had ignored over the past year came flooding back in one massive wave. The moments when she made subtle digs about me not being exciting enough for her social media. The times she'd hint that other guys were interested in her and she could easily get someone else. The way she'd pull away whenever I tried to have a serious talk, then twist it like I was the problem. And now, watching her mock me publicly for a cheap laugh. It was like someone finally turned on the light in a room I had been sitting in the dark in for too long. I wasn't just embarrassed. I felt humiliated, disrespected, and most of all, deeply betrayed. This was her letting the world in and dragging me out as the punchline. And I knew in that moment that this wasn't someone I could marry. Not now, not ever. So, I didn't argue. I didn't call her or make a scene. I didn't send a long, emotional message. I simply typed 3 words into the chat: "Don't bother." And that was it. The next morning, while she was probably sleeping off the drinks, I got to work. I contacted the wedding venue first and requested a cancellation. I knew the deposit was partially non-refundable, but I didn't even flinch. Some money is worth losing if it buys you peace of mind. I followed that up by calling the caterer and the DJ, letting them know we were no longer moving forward. One of them asked if everything was okay. I just said it will be. Funny enough, Shannon didn't even realize what had happened right away. It wasn't until she got some sort of notification or maybe a call from the venue about the payment reversal that she finally caught on. That's when my phone started ringing nonstop. From a woman who, on most days, could go a full day without checking in. Suddenly, she couldn't stop trying to reach me. Call after call. Text after text. I didn't answer. Then her maid of honor called me. She sounded frantic, almost rehearsed, trying to sweep the whole thing under the rug. She said it was just a joke, that Shannon didn't mean it, that she was drunk and trying to entertain the crowd. I told her flat out, that joke was the last straw. If she can't respect me when she's supposed to be celebrating our future, what makes you think she'll respect me once we're married? She paused, tried to spin it again, but I'd heard enough. I wasn't in the mood to be talked down from a decision that had taken months of disrespect to arrive at. Soon after, Shannon finally texted me directly. She didn't start with an apology, not even close. She opened with, "Why are you being dramatic?" Then followed up with, "It was just for laughs. You're really going to ruin everything over that?" I didn't respond. She kept texting. She said I was humiliating her, that I was throwing away everything over one comment. But the truth is, this wasn't about one comment. It was about a pattern, a deep, consistent lack of respect, in private, and now for all the world to see. She never once acknowledged the weight of what she'd done. Instead, she acted like I was the one who messed everything up. I genuinely thought that canceling the venue, blocking her calls, and ignoring her guilt-laced texts would be the end of that chapter. But a week later, there she was, back online, going live on TikTok, but this time the topic was me. I didn't watch the whole thing, but a friend sent me clips. In the live stream, Shannon was telling her followers about the toxic relationship she had just walked away from, flipping the entire story on its head. According to her, I was controlling, insecure, and didn't want her to have a life outside of our relationship. She told them I constantly held her back and made her feel small. Not once did she mention the live stream comment that triggered everything. Not once did she take responsibility for anything she said or did. She made it sound like she dodged a bullet. At first, I was angry because she was lying so confidently, so publicly, just to protect her image. She knew exactly how to play to her audience. She knew what words to use, how to cry on cue, how to make herself look like the one who was mistreated. And the worst part? Thousands of people were eating it up. The comment section was filled with strangers calling me a narcissist, saying things like, "You go, girl," and "good riddance to him." They didn't know anything. They weren't there. But that didn't matter. Shannon had already curated the version of the story she wanted the world to see. Now, I'm not the kind of person who enjoys public drama. I never was. But watching her twist reality so easily made me realize something. Silence only works when the other person isn't using a microphone to shout lies. I still didn't want to get into a public back and forth, but I also wasn't going to let her keep smearing my name without consequence. So, I got in touch with my lawyer. I explained everything. The lawyer took it seriously. We drafted a formal cease and desist letter, warning her that if she continued to publicly defame me, there would be legal action. She received it within days, and not surprisingly, she didn't go live again for a while. Whatever she had planned, whatever part 2 she was hoping to post, it never happened. She didn't respond directly to the letter, but the silence that followed was loud enough. Even now, I don't think Shannon ever truly believed she was in the wrong. In her mind, she's still the victim of a man who didn't support her dreams or understand her lifestyle. And maybe that's what she'll always believe. That's fine. I've accepted that. I needed to draw a line between what I was willing to tolerate and what I simply couldn't anymore.